Welcome to the Business of Wholesaling podcast. I'm your host, Drew Carroll, and I am here with Mr. Tony Boutros. Tony, how are you?
I am very good. Thank you for having me here.
I'm very excited and honored to have you on. Basically, I know your name through my Slack channel.
Yeah.
Your name actually never gets posted without a slice of pepperoni beside it, just so that you are aware. Everybody on my team calls you Tony Pepperoni. Yeah, you've got your own emoji in our internal Slack. So that's got to be pretty honoring right there.
That is very honoring.
So Tony, tell us, what do you do? Where are you from? And how did you get started?
I am born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana, technically Carmel, Indiana, which is a northern suburb. We still operate here in our backyard. Ultimately, we have the opportunity to serve everyone that we come in contact with. So, love to serve our vendors that we work with, like Lead Zolo, our employees now as we're building our team, which is a newer thing for us, and our customers, our clients. As you know, a lot of the people in our industry, as far as the clients go, they're going through a rough period in their life. They're going through a lot of transition, whether it be divorce or sheriff's sale or code violation or probate or, big distress in their life. They can't take care of the property. They don't want to take care of the property. They need to sell the property. So we're just able to come alongside them and really be a resource support, help them through that transition period in their life, just walk with them through that. Ultimately, tangibly, we buy the house from them. Our business has primarily based in wholesaling. We have one flip going right now. And we're actually starting to do a lot more novations as well. Should do with the market. I think a lot of the properties that have come up recently, a lot of people bought between, I would say, 2018 and 2023. So the property's in good condition and they don't have the equity for a cash offer. But yeah, we're doing a lot more novations now, which are great. The cash conversion is not as fast, but ultimately it's how can we best serve our clients. And we're actually we have a in-house brokerage as well. So we're launching our own brokerage right now. We're with EXP, but
expanding out of EXP or like expanding within EXP?
We are contemplating right now. We are, and I don't know. I don't know if I should say this publicly, but yeah, we are looking at launching our own, reborn brokerage. It will, in my opinion, just based on where we're at now, for sure happen. It's just a matter of when that is, what the timeline looks like for that.
Interesting. Good for you. I have some experience with EXP. I work with EXP and Leo and Brandon, their internal expand investing program. So it's interesting. I didn't realize you're in EXP. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
It also starting your own brokerage. Also very cool. So you're like, 17 and a half years old? Like how you're obviously very young and new into this. Tell me how, when did you start wholesaling? Is what it sounds like. And then obviously you're moving into flips and novas and stuff now. Like, how did you start into wholesaling?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to be 22 as of tomorrow, as of when this is being recorded. So 9/11 is my birthday, which is a interesting birthday to have, especially as a Middle Eastern man. I got started in, I want to say May 2023 with New Western. I worked with New Western for a couple months, made $900 in 2 months being there. I left. I thought I knew everything in the world. I thought I knew everything there was in real estate. And so I tried to do everything. And within that next 6 months, I made another about $2,000. At that time, I was driving a yellow drop top convertible Mustang V6, of course, not V8. But I remember literally having anxiety pulling up to the gas station because I didn't know if I had money for gas. So eventually I put my pride down. I sold that car. I think I sold it for $8,000 or something like that. I put that money into marketing, which at the time was just cold calling. And actually within that first month, call it luck or I don't know what, but made 28-ish grand on that first deal, which I still remember the address of. I don't know if I should say it on here, but still remember the address. I usually don't remember all the addresses. I usually remember the stories of the sellers, but that was February 2024. Since then, that year was just kind of me, just grinding. I think it was a little under 100 grand, so nothing crazy. And then this year, 2025, I started building our team. We are now a team of 4, including myself. We actually just got out of an interview for a potential 5th, just focus more on building out our systems, our infrastructure, our team, stuff like that now. So yeah, I mean, we're getting to a point of doing more in a month than we did in a year revenue-wise.
So are you projecting 7 figures this year? Is that?
Not this year, I would say from the time where we started building our team to a year from that date, so 12 months after that date, which was around, again, May, like May 1st, call it, I would say we should 100% do multi seven figures.
How did you even learn about wholesaling to do that very first deal? Like, did you take a course or a mentorship? It was something kind of going around, I guess, being a realtor, I guess you would have heard of it and had some experience, right?
I never did anything on the retail side. I have my license just due to the fact that I was with New Western, and New Western requires you to be licensed. And also, so New Western is how I learned about wholesale in general. When I got into New Western, I was just looking to get into sales, not necessarily real estate. But I had two job offers. One was with New Western, another one was with TQL Logistics. I didn't know what logistics was. My uncle was actually successful in logistics, but sounded super boring to me compared to real estate, and especially investment real estate. So I was like, I'd take the $0 base over to $40,000 base because I was living at home. Cost of living was obviously very, very minimal.
So in 18 months, you went from your first deal to now a 4-person team and looking to scale to 6 figures a month is basically the arc here so far.
Yeah, since now we're in September. So yeah, again, when I first had that big like actual deal was February 24th. So about 18, 19 months. Yeah.
Incredible. And so now you're talking about, you're focusing on novations. So explain to me how innovation works and why you guys like it. Obviously, the price that you can give to the seller is what's most attractive here. I think that novations are a little elusive to some wholesalers who are looking to expand their dispo strategies. So I'd love to hear how you go about them.
Great question. So actually, perfect scenario. We have one that we just got under contract about a week ago. And we have a couple others in the pipeline right now as well. But this one that we got under contract, we offer them 137.5 cash, but the house is in good condition. It was a probate situation. They don't really want to deal with the property. They do want to clean it out themselves because it was like the house they grew up in, so they have a bunch of like personal belongings. So they're going to do that. But ultimately, what we need from them in exchange is we need one, obviously the rapport, because we're going to be partnering with them instead of buying the house from them. We're partnering with them. We're now on the same side of the closing table as them. So we need that rapport, but also tangibly we need time. So typically 60 to 90 days, and we need access because again, we are partnering. So we're not the end buyer. We're taking that to a buyer that's on the market using a FHA, a VA, conventional, whatever it might be, type of loan versus buying the house cash. So we're able to offer them. There was some drama, so we actually offer them about now. We just increased it 20 grand. So we're paying them $43,000 more than we were going to as a cash offer. And we'll still make 60-ish off that deal. And again, I mean, the downside is the cash conversion cycle is slower than a cash deal. You're not going to get paid in 2-3 weeks, but you're also
Right.
usually not going to make 60 grand off a $150,000 house.
Right. And you would have lost it as a wholesale deal anyways, right? Like they wouldn't have said yes to the offer on a wholesale, would they have?
I think we could have gone up to what they were asking, which was 160, but we would have made like 7 grand. And we could have done that in a month, but it just wasn't worth it. And this house also is in another suburb opposite of where I'm at, so south side. So also in a good area, good school district and everything.
So you're wholesaling your novation. You said you're doing one flip right now. What's the target? What's the goal? Like, what do you guys in a year from now, like next September, what would that month look like for you guys in terms of deals? What types of deals would you be doing and how many?
I would say based on it really depends on where the market goes. But as we continue to build out our team, we are expanding our exit strategies, meaning we actually just brought on an acquisitions manager 2 or 3 weeks ago. She's absolutely killed it so far. That has opened up my bandwidth as the steward of our company to look at different exit strategies such as novations. Because I had like pitched a couple novations before, but it wasn't like just my brain was so scattered. But now that I'm able to see at a higher level, we're able to do those more effectively. So my thinking is as we continue to grow our team, we might add in sub 2, seller finance, stuff like that. But ultimately, I mean, I think our bread and butter will stick to being the cash offer, wholesale as much as possible. I think novations are great. And then, yeah, seller finance sub 2 as we continue to grow. I would say September next year, 2026, I'd like to be a team probably twice what we are now. We would like to be at around 300 grand a month in revenue. Our big goal revenue wise is 10 million within 3 years. So by 2027, 2028. But ultimately, bigger than the revenue goal is dialing in and mastering the model here in Indianapolis. That way we can copy and paste it into different markets, because I want to have a in-person, boots on the ground team in every market that's focused on that market. Probably people that are local, like grew up in that market, just like we've grown up in and around Indianapolis. Yeah, I mean, it just really depends on the property, the seller situation, but I definitely think that wholesale will be a backbone for sure for an ongoing basis, getting into more flipping with cosmetic deals whenever those come up. So we'll also be more focused on raising capital, private capital for
You're
those
just right
flips.
into it. You're into the whole industry. You're not like coming in here being like, I want to be this best flipper. You're coming in saying you wanna do it all. I don't know if you mentioned it while we're recording or not, but you're a part of Results Driven with Josh and Tiff. I was with Josh and Tiff last week, and this is exactly what they were talking about, was like going deep, deep, deep into their market. And that's what they talk to their students about, is that a really, really successful model is going deep into a market rather than going wide and trying to do things virtually. And there are people that do that successfully, but it's quite interesting to hear what you're doing, especially in this very short time frame. You also made the joke earlier when I said that you were successful. You doubted me on that, but I would say the progress you made over the last 18 months is what makes you successful for sure. What would you say to somebody starting out in this industry who is where you were at last February? Like, they've made their first deal, they made their first few bucks. What have you learned in the last 18 months that you wish you were quicker to do or didn't do in that kind of evolution? And I know it's been quick and you've done a lot.
There's probably going to be a lot of cliche stuff, honestly. But I mean, I'm thinking of Hermosi. Hermosi, I think, has a quote where he's talking about, the breakthrough that you are looking for is in the hard work, or is in the work that you are avoiding, period, point blank. So that's part of it. I would say, making those calls. I would say expense wise, like definitely your biggest expense, especially in the beginning, should be going towards marketing, because we've tried doing like free stuff where you're like direct to agent, working with wholesalers, like it works, but it's not necessarily the most reliable thing. It's definitely much more of a grind, burns you out, burns your team out. So I would say definitely focus on finding a marketing channel that works and going all in on it, and then, worrying about diversifying later. I would also say, I was in results driven small group. I would say definitely getting into a coaching program, whether it's results driven or whatever it might be, can definitely be very, very beneficial. With us, when I started, I did that like literally right after I did my first deal. So for me, it cut into, because I was 19, 20 at that time. I'm not coming in with a bunch of capital. That cut into money that could have gone into marketing. But now, as we've built that capital up and we've been able to get into a place of building our systems and our team and everything out more, it's definitely allowed me to kind of fast pace where I would have been otherwise figuring it out on my own. So I would say results driven is great. I think they are definitely the definition of under promise, over deliver. Especially, I mean, even like they have a program where I think ranges from $50 to $200, depending on what marketing they have going on at that time. It's a 4-week virtual training. That's what I started with. It's phenomenal. It's great.
They do a 2-day off the back of that or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
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 Very cool. Yeah, I know personally, like masterminds, getting in groups, programs, there's just two major benefits. The one major benefit is that they're there to compress time for you, right? Like, there's nothing you or I couldn't figure out over time. But the question is, how much time do you want to invest in that when you could just be in the room with somebody who's done it, who has iterated on it, back to Hormozy, who's already iterated it 10,000 times. And so why not just pick up where they are? The other side of that being accountability, right? It's also very easy. I don't think there's an entrepreneur listening to this call right now that doesn't know the single largest leverage point in their business. The problem is, are they actually going to go focus on it and fix it right now? And groups like RD and masterminds like that I'm in, that's just what they do. They literally sit there and hold your feet to the fire and go, we're going to be meeting again here in 90 days. Are you going to do this? Like, commit to this. Let's hold you accountable to it come December or whatever it might be. So I love that. That's great. What is the goal for the company And I'll ask you the second part of this question after. Now, I know $10 million revenue is kind of the big number right now, but like, is there a big goal? Is there an exit? Is there is there a retirement number? Like, what's the big goal?
I don't think I'll ever retire. I don't know if I'll be in this business specifically, but ultimately, yeah. I mean, we're looking to go deep again into the indie market so that we can copy and paste it across different markets. And really, we are aiming to be nationwide. Potentially, we've talked about being international. Obviously, it's not, at this stage in our business, a huge thought in our mind, but it's definitely something we've talked about. I don't know what the house buying side of things would look like international. I know obviously brokerage is a thing international, and I mean, international could just be Canada and the US. It doesn't have to be every single country in the world. But yeah, anything I do, I think I've always had just like, how can we do this at the biggest scale? That's just how my brain thinks. I would say, yeah, I mean, long term, we are looking to build a private equity firm centered around real estate. So, having a title company, having a hard money lender, all of that stuff that you would need for a brokerage in house. One of the things that we've done that's allowed us to maximize our ROI is building relationships with, when you're wholesaling a house, there's going to be, depending on the house, depending on the buyer, there's going to be obviously a title company. There's going to be possibly a hard money company. There's going to be an appraiser. There's going to be an inspector. There's going to be a contractor. If we can have as many of the moving pieces under one roof, I think I can't remember who it is that talks about it, but whoever is able to pay the most per lead is who's going to ultimately win in the end. If I can pay $1,000 per lead and be profitable, and you can only pay 200, I'm going to beat you every single time. So that's what we're looking to do, and do that again in every single major market across at least a country. I don't necessarily have a number to that, honestly.
Interesting. You're very growth focused, which is great. The business that can afford to spend the most to acquire a customer wins. It's a Dan Kennedy quote. Yeah. And the other reason I know that is literally the tab I have open beside this recording is my keynote. I'm speaking this weekend, and that's literally the topic of my keynote.
Oh, that's awesome.
We're right on the same wavelengths. What I think about, and the story I talk about in that is going to Disney, right? If you go to Disney, Disney has it all figured out. You can go there as a young kid on a small salary and maybe with a young family and go budget, right? There's cheap tickets. You can bring food into the park. You can do all this stuff. There's also this plan where you can go in and you can get fast pass. So you can get the front of all of the lines. You can get the food catered to you. You can have Mickey shows up at your table for the pictures. Great. And then there's also a line above that for people who are famous, for example, or influencers or whatever, who don't want to spend all that time in the park with a bunch of people, but they can spend $3,000 per person, and they get literally walked to the front of each line and taken on a little cart from ride to ride. So Disney knows exactly how to make money on every single lead that comes in, and they have a program for each and every one of them. And so it's great to hear that that's exactly what you're building. You're building a horizontal ascension ladder. Essentially, you're making sure that your net is wide enough to look after the most amount of people.
I haven't really alluded to it too much, but as I mentioned, we're looking at starting our own brokerage. I guess the smallest offer we have would be listing, because typically you're going to make 10 times less, 4 times slower, but you're still monetizing a lead that otherwise would be zero, and that is always a good thing.
Why do you do this? Why are you hungry to grow and want to do everything at scale? Why not just be comfortable and sit at home, do a couple deals by yourself, buy some leads, make a casual 50 grand a month, and just live the life you want that way?
Part of it is I love working. I genuinely love what I do. The other part of it is what I'm wearing right now, the cross. I am just grateful for what I have, what I've been given, and I am called to be a steward of what I've been given and to continue to grow where Christ has led me. I actually dropped out of high school. I was homeless for a few months, went through a lot in that season of life. I was also 260 pounds. Obviously, I didn't have money at that time. I tell people, and hopefully it's not actually midlife, but I tell people I had a midlife crisis at 18 years old. And hopefully that's not in the middle of my life. Hopefully that's a fifth of a life crisis. Remembering where I've been and knowing where I am now, and just the overflow of the gratitude that comes from that. I start every morning also with quiet time, with prayer. There's a prayer wheel that I like to go through. So faith is very, very important to me. I mean, ultimately, that's the biggest thing that is, with growing this company. Like I said, I don't really have a number. It's really just all to glorify God and to do that on, nationwide and potentially international.
What was the pivotal moment for you? Like when you went from being homeless and overweight, and obviously in that season, what was the turning point?
It's going to be another cliche thing. Tony Robbins has a quote that says, the pain of staying the same outgrew the pain of change. So it's funny. It was May 1st, 2022. I woke up and I felt reborn, which now my company name is Reborn Homes. My podcast is the Reborn Podcast. My car says Reborn on the license plate. So Reborn is like a big thing for me now. But I woke up that first year, I literally like all I did was get in shape. I got into the gym and like I would literally just go home and like still just sleep the rest of the day. Like I was still not obviously where I am today. Yeah, I would just say, I mean, I was just so fed up with where I had been for my entire middle school, high school was just really, really poor mental and physical health and social health and everything that I wanted to go out and change. And obviously, one thing led to another. I got in shape and then I got into real estate, found God.
So you found God post. You weren't religious prior to this.
I would say I was religious as a little kid. So as a little kid from in third grade, I had moved to Carmel, which is a big school district. Like the high school is like 6 or 7 thousand students. The middle schools are like 2 or 3 thousand. So it's huge schools. I had moved from a smaller, like more inner city school. And so that just completely shifted, just finding a new identity. Like my parents were taking me to church and I went to like a Catholic school for kindergarten. But yeah, as far as finding God with like the relationship I have now, that was around actually about 2 years ago now, September 23. Got baptized April 7, 24. And then I gave my first sermon July 7, 24, which was like not like a sermon, but like just sharing a message at church, a short message, like 10 minutes.
What was the message?
I think that was just on my testimony, if I remember correctly. Done that, and then I did one on love, like biblical love. I've done 2 or 3 at the old church. I don't go there anymore. They actually shut down a few months ago. It's crazy because I've gone from being like literally shaky to speak to anybody. It doesn't matter if I'm going to order food to now being comfortable speaking in front of an audience. So it's cool.
Well, reborn seems pretty on the nose then. That's for sure. What would be the big give back? Like what would fulfill you? Understand given your faith and what you're focused on and growing and the transition that you've gone through. How do you see you giving back in the biggest way possible? What would that look like for you?
I mean, I think it's really just a scale of how we do things. I mean, as I mentioned with the clients that we work with, a lot of them, most of them are going through extreme distress. So doing that on a higher scale, higher level. Also being just a servant to, again, our vendors like Lead Zolo, like how can Reborn as a company come alongside our vendors that we work with to help them become a more successful company by being in relationship with Reborn, with our employees, giving them a place where they love to work and can fit their vision into the bigger vision. And then obviously, tithing goes into that as well, just giving back financially to the church and to different causes that we believe in. For me, I think of tithing as financial, but also offerings, with offering your energy, your attention, your time, in addition to just your money. Because especially when you start to, I've not been there for super long, but when your time becomes more valuable than your money, it's easier to give money than it is to give time. So I think it's important to still also give time to God, and I mean, who literally created us, and continue to do that. So
there's so many people really just do focus on the monetary part of it. I remember getting asked a while back by one of my coaches, like what I thought, like what I wanted to do in terms of like volunteering and donating and any like being a philanthropist or whatever it might be. And I thought of it for a very long time. And it came back to that where I was just like, I really just want to keep growing businesses. Like I've got a couple of them. We employ a lot of people. We have a lot of customers. And to me, it's like, I think about everybody I employ and go, well, the thing I built is feeding X amount of families, is paying X amount of mortgages. We have on the Lead Zolo side, we've had over 3,500, probably almost 4,000 investors now who have done business with us. And to me, it's like it's 4,000 other businesses that we've impacted and all the families that they impact and all the hundreds of thousands of seller leads, like people who are genuinely in need, who are filling our forums, and we're connecting them with other investors. Like that feels good to me. That feels genuinely good to me. And like being able to feel grateful for the, what a lot of people look at as the minutia and the day to day of our jobs, I really think is what you and I are like when there's no need to retire. There's no ends to this means. The means is the end. And yeah, I very much enjoy it. Do you know who Taylor Welch is? Have you ever listened to the Deep End podcast of his?
I don't know that I've listened to his podcast, but the name sounds familiar. I'm not super familiar.
He's a big like funnels marketing guru, much like Sam Ovens and Alex Hormozy.
Got it. Okay.
He's also Christian and just started a Christian podcast. And anyways, he does a lot of really good episodes. Recently, he did one that was on the currency of heaven, and he talks about like how we're meant to be prosperous. We're meant to make money so long as we're doing it in a way that's serving God and in a way that's serving our community and everybody else. So it was interesting listening to you explain all of that, and it was very reminiscent of that podcast. So you should check that out for sure.
Check that out for sure.
Tell me what else. What's the next big step? What are you going to accomplish before the end of this year that you've yet to?
Yeah, I would say the next big step for us as a company is we would really like to hire a dispo manager, which again, before this, I literally just got out of an interview with a potential candidate, and getting our dispo, because I think right now, actually, I have our org chart right in front of me, acquisitions, operations, and dispo is the one that, I'm still doing myself. I think when I'm to that point of just being able to be one step away, obviously still equipping and empowering our team, that's going to open up my bandwidth to, again, look at things like seller financing, look at things like sub 2, focus more on, people talk about being, working on the business versus in the business, opportunities like this coming on different podcasts, strategic partnerships. Right now, getting our dispo side set out, we would also like to be at 150 a month revenue by the end of the year. That's on the company side of things. One of the big things that's been really transformational for me is starting in, I want to say February this year, I started Live Hard, which is 4 phases. A lot of people know 75 Hard.
Yeah.
So I did 75 Hard. I then did phase 1, and I'm about to start this weekend, phase 2. And then I'll be doing phase 3 in January, because it's like it leads up to the same day that you started 75 Hard. So I would say that's another personal goal of mine, is getting that done.
I get super tactically. What's the difference between phase 1 and I'm in the middle of 75 Hard right now. So what is phase 2? Is that where it's like the say hello to a stranger every day?
That's phase 3. So
okay.
phase 3 is technically phase 4, basically, because like they started with phase 1, which is after 75 Hard. Phase 2, to my understanding, is the same thing as 75 Hard, but 30 days. And you have to take 30 days between phase 1 and phase 2. That way, if you lose a discipline in that time, like, you're going to have to work your way back into that routine. That's a big caveat there. And then, phase 3 is the one that, a nice gesture every day, have a conversation with a stranger every day. I don't know if that has the cold shower and everything involved with that one too. I know that's in phase 1.
Man, he just keeps piling it on. I thought 75 Hard was hard enough. What do you think, what skill do you have that you've been blessed with that you think has helped you progress over the last 18 months that other entrepreneurs, investors like yourself should really focus on?
I want to say gratitude, honestly, but I'll give you something tactical, which is I just feel like communication is a huge thing, because communication is sales. Sales is communication, and you're always selling. I mean, right now we're selling, I guess, like, we're selling. Does this audience want to listen to the next minute of this podcast? We're selling them on that. With growing our team, like I said, we just started doing that this year. How can I paint the vision, paint the picture of who they can become working here? Obviously, again, in the beginning, most people start this industry with just themselves, just grinding, just making calls. Ultimately, I mean, I look at wholesale real estate as a sales and marketing business, not really a real estate business. Yeah, I mean, communication and sales is really the biggest thing, I would say. There's obviously systems, there's AI, there's a bunch of other stuff that, as you continue to grow, will definitely become crucial. That has definitely helped us grow and be more sustainable. But I would say communication and sales is the backbone.
I like how you say that, and I agree. Communication and sales. I think a lot of people get wrapped up in like the context or the content of what they do, and they don't focus enough on the context. I was talking to somebody a while ago, and he asked me what I'd do if I lost my businesses, if I lost everything I've worked so hard to build. And I kind of had to take a step back and go, like, I didn't work like Lead Zolo is some idea in the sky. It's a logo on a landing page, right? And like there's function and there's product and there's systems behind it that we built. But I didn't, in my mind, I didn't build all these finite systems like they're a brick by brick wall in front of me. What I did was I learned how to build a wall. And so I like, in my mind, it's undoubtable. Like I don't, if wholesaling becomes illegal tomorrow, right? If real estate can only be through licensed practitioners and whatever it might be, and Lidzolo is dead, like I will still never be broke. Like I will then just go start another company. And like I understand the function of how that works. I understand how to bring value to the world and how to monetize that value. Yeah, I agree. People should focus on communication is definitely my number one thing. That's my answer to that, as absolutely communication, networking, and making friends. You're the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. And that doesn't mean that like it has to be your sister, your brother, and your in-laws. Like it could be the books you read. It could be the people you spend time with on Zoom. It could be who you go to results driven with or masterminds with or sub to or whatever program, doesn't matter. You're creating that circle. You're creating that network, and that's just who you become. So I think that's a great answer.
It goes back to Hormozi. I'm a huge Hormozi fan. I used to watch him. Literally, I would used to do DoorDash and Instacart before I started any of this, and just listen to Hormozi. I was a entrepreneur at that time, and now we just did the investment with the 100 books if you were on that, or 200 books if you were on that launch recently. But he's always talking about, the thing that you're building, the most important thing that you're building is not the company, it's yourself. And so that's why they have what's the show where it's like they don't give him any money, any resources. Grant Cardone was on there.
Undercover like, billionaire or something.
Yeah. It's like these people can go and make that money back even with nothing because they have the skill set. Even without the relationships, they can go and build relationships. It might take some time because relationships inherently take time to build, but
yeah, what did Grant do? He got a valuation of like a $5.8 million company after 90 days, right? A little BS. I think they evaluated the building more than anything else. But yeah, the point being is he knows what he's doing, so he can do it. He doesn't need his physical resources or even his network. The fact that he knows how to build a network. And actually, now that you say that, that's actually, if I was starting as an entrepreneur, I would suggest I go watch that. Because Grant does a brilliant job of like going into a new city, befriending the owner of an RV store, mostly because he needed somewhere to sleep, and then like befriending the owner of a gym, and like immediately was plugged into all of the business owners in that small town just because he knew to like, oh, I'm just going to go talk to 2 business owners right away. He just knew the people he needed to be around. So that's pretty cool. And then he tried to pitch a syndicate to a bunch of barbers, I think. But anyways, that aside. Finally, last question is, what would you warn any new entrepreneurs or wholesalers against if they were February of last year for you? Like first deal, first 25 grand. Yeah, like 25 grand hit their bank account for the first time. They're going, shit, I'm going to take this seriously. I'm going to start a business. What do you think the biggest warning you could give to them up front would be?
I would say that's one big thing is, if you want to take it seriously, take it seriously, because obviously there are some people that will get 25 grand and go out and buy a nice car or whatever it might be, a nice watch,
get that
whatever you want. So definitely avoid that. I really encourage people, and I know people that have been successful without it, but I really encourage people to just build systems, have a basic CRM where you can keep things tracked. I know people, again, who have been successful with like Google Sheets, but I'm sure that they're leaving money on the table. They're having tons of leads slip through the cracks because they're using Google Sheets instead of a CRM where you can pay $100 to $500, maybe $1,000 a month for a good CRM if you just made 25 grand. I would also, like I said, just keep the focus in the beginning, especially on your money should go back into marketing. Because I can go and make 25 grand, put that 25 grand back into marketing, and I know I'm going to get 3, 5, if you have the systems, 10x on that money. So literally make 6 figures off of that one deal that I paid. If you think about it, go back and reverse engineer. I made 3 grand, or I put 3 grand into that cold caller, made 20, 28, 25, and then you just keep doing that. is going to keep multiplying instead of, again, just going out and buying a nice car or whatever it might be.
I think that's great advice. I think a lot of people put the cart before the horse. I think, in business, there's 3 stages to any business, and it's not like you just graduate out of one for forever by any means, but it's making money, optimization, amplification. And I think a lot of people make money and then want to jump right to amplification. And the problem is that amplification means amplification. It doesn't mean double your money. So what you're amplifying is could be the sloppiness or the laziness or the lack of systems. And you could be amplifying a fragile house of cards where if you spent way more time in the optimization phase, and Hormozy even speaks of this as well, then you're going to make way more money because the money is made in optimization. Money is not made in amplification. The only money made in amplification is through an exit because of a multiple potentially. You just need to shoot your shot and sell shit until you make money. And then once you make money, just optimize, and only get to amplify when you're making so much money you don't know what to do with it. Yeah, I think so many people want to jump over systems and they're happy with their Google Sheet because they know how to color format it or whatever the hell it is. And they're just missing the big picture where it's go iterate 10,000 times on a CRM until you know it inside and out, and your whole team knows it inside and out before you stop iterating on the CRM.
We pay probably around $1,000 a month for our CRM, but then we've also paid thousands of dollars to the guy who built our CRM to build in custom different workflows and sequences and whatever it might be in our CRM so that we can, as you said, optimize. I think a part of that too is, as you said, networking, go out and build that network. For instance, let's say I make 25 grand on a deal, but then I'm able to go and refer to that hard money lender. I'm getting 1 or 2 points on that. Let's say it's a low price deal, $100,000, 2 points is $2,000. That's probably more than your cost for that deal alone. If you can refer to a contractor, that's probably, we have a deal with just 2.5% of the total reno. So let's say it's a 50 grand reno, that's what, $1,000 or $1,250, something like that. Again, that's almost your cost per lead. Let's say your cost per deal is $2,000. Now, instead of doing that, and that's just off two. I mean, we have different vendors we use for different parts. You're making another $3,250 off that one deal, just off a relationship you have.
Yeah, and it also speaks back to too what we're talking about, scaling horizontally, right? Being able to make more money on every lead that comes in, make more money off of what's going on. I have a friend, Brandon Bradingham in Maryland. He's with EXP as well. He owns 22 companies. So from retail to wholesaling to a flipping company to a construction company to the title company to the mortgage company, all the way across. And so he has marketing for every single one of his companies, because if you come in on the wholesale side and you don't fit the cash offer or the flip, he's going to shoot you over to the retail side and get you listed. If you come on the listed side and it looks like a good wholesale, great. He's going to wholesale you, but he's only going to wholesale it to the flipper who's going to be using his construction company and his title company. And if you are going through the retail side, be damn sure you're going to be using his mortgage company. And so he's getting a rip off of every side of everything, which is why he owns all the TV space, all the radio space, all of the online space for advertising, because he can afford to spend the most to acquire a customer. And he just absolutely dominates Maryland.
And that's what we're looking to do in Indy, and then going forward beyond nationwide.
This has been a great talk, man. I really appreciate having you on. You've been internally, I know my team loves you, so it's been really funny. Got your own emoji, so that speaks volumes. So we should do this again sometime.
Awesome. Yeah, I would love to. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Appreciate you, brother.